Alrighty, hello guys, it is Meech here, and we're gonna do another tidbits episode, which we have not done in a long time. Uh, Today I am throwing it over Super Meat Boy for actually the main reason I'm doing this is because what we're talking about today is kind of like a movie review. I finally got around to watching Indie Game, the movie, which I have to say was it was very good. Um, like I kind of feel bad. I was always real tempted to watch it on. It was on sale on Steam several times, and I never got around to buying it. And it was on Netflix, so I watched it, and it was a whole lot of feels on that movie, man. I chose Super Meat Boy though because out of the three featured developers and games, this is the only one I own. The other two being Fez and Braid. So yeah. Also, throughout that movie, I like the developers of Super Meat Boy the best. Definitely check out that movie. Like, wow, it's. Also, you may notice through parts of this video, I take very many attempts, and yeah, it's awful how bad I am. And I thought about editing it, but at the same time, like one of the main things about Super Meat Boy is that you try until you fail. Like this is where I actually get this level. Yep, right there. But yeah, that was just, and this is my favorite part when they show the replay, and just all, the little army of Meat Boys running and jumping through the gauntlet. And then you can always tell which one it is because you can just see them all start to drop off one by one. That the camera focuses on the one that wins. But yeah, I was watching Indie Game the movie, and it follows a gentleman by the name of Phil, and he is the developer behind Fez. And this is going to be pretty chock full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want it spoiled, I would recommend not watching this video. Oh, another thing, I generally play after I've put in a couple hours in a game. I generally start to play without the music, and I listen to podcasts though, and I really regret that because Meat Boy has some great music, especially in the introduction video. But yeah, Meat Boy's music is pretty good. So yeah, spoiler alert ahead of time, this is going to be bad. Oh, and this is also the first video I'm doing with my new microphone, so let me know what you think about that. Back onto the subject of indie game movie. It starts with Phil, who's the developer of Fez, one of two, and this guy's got some serious problems. Actually, I don't know if I think I totally forget now. I just watched it a couple hours ago, though. I want to say he's a first-person shown, though he's the first person I started taking notes about. Then we've got the two-man team of Super Meat Boy, which is Tommy and Edmund, which those guys were definitely my favorite. Just the way they interacted, they were just great. And then the creator of Braid, his name was Jonathan, and he came on a little strong. Like that's actually part of the movie. I guess he got a bad rep on the internet because he'd go around to different reviews and actually respond to them. And he, like I said, he came on a little strong. But we'll go ahead and start with the Braid story just because it was the shortest. Like they kind of showed him as one of the leaders in indie game breakthroughs because he was one who did break through, and that's kind of how the Meat Boy guys measure their success, because they're like, oh man, we totally beat Braid's first day sales. And it was just, he talked about how he took an idea that, it was kind of cool how he talked about it. He said there was he was talking to a whole bunch of people, and they kicked around this idea, and no one wanted it. So he was the only person to implement it into a game. And I gotta say, this level right here, the one that you're watching now, took me so many times. It was just so hard, so hard. Uh, oh, it's such a bitch. And this is only the third world. Like if this was Mario, it'd be World 3, Level 2. But yeah, we start to talk with Phil, who's the producer of Fez, and he's got a lot of problems. For one thing, Fez is really behind in development. I don't know. I'm going to actually look that up. I don't know when Fez came out, but it was supposed to come out early this year. And uh, it was like 4 years, and it was April of this year is when Fez came out, and it was in production for 4 years. And he said he was real worried because he released the trailer or whatever, the original proof of concept videos, and it was so well received. Then he started to get hate mail, and people were hitting on him because it just was taking him so long. But it was just him and one other guy doing this, and he was sitting there pointing at all these different games. He's like, Grand Theft Auto, they had a team of 1,000 people. That took 5 years. No one's bitching at them. And he did bring a pretty good point, and it was really neat, just because I don't know. I never really, I don't even know what I'm saying here, but the movie itself is real cool, just how it shows the way these guys feel, and especially Phil, because he was very invested in Fez. Like, he was talking about how he didn't know, like, everything was riding on Fez. And the lady who I guess was making the video asked him, she's like, well, what if it's a bust? And he said that he would kill himself, which I thought was like, wow, just out of the blue, like without hesitation. He's like, yeah, I just end it. And which is, I mean, you hear a lot of these stories of these indie successes. Like, my favorite musician is Jonathan Colton. He's an indie success. He was a programmer writing code, and one day he decided he didn't want to do that anymore and quit his job and started writing music, and he happened to make it. That's why I know of him. That's why thousands of others know of him. That's why you guys know of him through my videos. But you don't hear about the people who fail. You don't hear about Joe Schmo who quit his job at Initech to pursue making George Foreman-esque bagel machines or something, I don't know. And he failed, so now he's working at Pizza Hut. So those stories don't get made. It's just the side effect of the American dream, I guess. Though Phil is French Canadian, I guess that doesn't really apply. But the American dream concept of if you work hard enough, you get you can do whatever you want, which is that could be an entirely another video. But that just really struck me, because through quite a bit of the video, you look at Phil and you're like, this guy is an asshole, and I really just don't like him. And you're just, the way he comes off is just, I didn't like him. He was a tool, really. But then all these different things would come up, and it makes you feel for him. So you just don't know what to think about Phil, and it's really cool to see his story pan out, just because he has a business, which is the producers of Fez, and it was co-run by another gentleman who ended up quitting. So he was one of his big things is he was setting up his demo at PAX, and it's the Penny Arcade Expo, run by the people who make the Penny Arcade comic strip. But he was, he was going to set up a Fez demo booth, and he was worried that he might not be able to because this other guy still had rights. He still had, an investment in Fez, and so he still had a say in what happened. So if he said no, and Phil couldn't have his booth at PAX, but if he went ahead and did it anyway, which is what he had planned, he could face lawsuits. Which, if you're an indie developer, yeah, that could definitely just kill it right there. And the guy ended up he ended up being cool with it, and he signed. And another part that made you kind of feel for him is he was all happy that he had this demo of his almost finished game at PAX, and all of a sudden oh, check this out, this is nuts, so many Meat Boys. See, this is my favorite part about the game, is when you sit there and you're like just working so hard. I love how it's down to just like 2 or 3 right there. But you're working so hard and you just can't do it. And then once you do, you just get to sit back and watch it all happen at one time. Oh, this game's so great. I definitely recommend buying it. Especially since every time there's a sale, it goes on for like $4. So definitely buy Super Meat Boy. But yeah, he's sitting there with his demo version of Fez, and there's all these hardcore glitches. Excuse me. There's all these hardcore glitches, like game-breaking errors with the game, and it's just a major problem. So he's seriously conflicted because people are liking it, but he has to sit there and reboot the console every time someone wants to play, and so these people are waiting. But it was kind of cool because the people were willing to wait, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that was Phil's story. That was pretty neat. And then the one that I really liked was the Super Meat Boy one, which was, there was 2 developers. They're named Tom and Edmund, and I don't remember their last names. Oh, I feel I should have written them down. But what the first thing that struck me, like, they lived on opposite sides of the country. One lived in, I want to say, California, the other one in North Carolina. So they lived miles and miles and miles apart, and they were able to work together to produce this game that you're watching right now. And these guys were weird. Like, what's really funny is, I don't know if any of you guys watched The Guild. It's a web series, but the newest season, they've been talking, spoilers again for anyone who watches The Guild and hasn't seen the newest season, the main character gets a job working for the creator of the game she plays, the MMO she plays, and this guy is a wreck, and that's kind of what the one developer, Tom, reminded me of, just because he was sitting there and freaking out about all these things. He's like, I just don't know what to do. And you could definitely tell he was very, very stressed out about it all. And so was the other guy, but he held his composure a lot better, and he had a lot of these personal stories, and it was kind of neat. But their big problem involved Microsoft and Xbox Live, because they were releasing Meat Boy on Xbox Live, and like, they're sitting there and they're producing it and they're all excited, all our games are going to be on Xbox Live, it's going to be great exposure, whatnot. And then they get this opportunity to do it during one of their Xbox Live Arcade big promos, and they're supposed to have, oh, I don't even know, but it was a big deal, and they were real excited for it, and then it turned out that they only had a month to get it done, and they were expecting a time frame of, a couple months. But it was either, try and bust it out then, or wait, like half a year or something like that. And this whole movie takes course over, it's about the course of a year, really. That's what it seems like. And so they ended up releasing it, and they get into problems. they get it done in the time frame, and it's in Microsoft's hands at that point. So it shows the main developer waking up, and he turns on Xbox Live, and Super Meat Boy's on in the marketplace, and he's like freaking out, sending emails. He's like, "Where's my game? Where's it at?" And it doesn't get uploaded till a quarter of the way through the day. So they're worried. They have this late start in this huge event that was supposed to be, this was supposed to be their thing, the thing that got them up and moving, and they couldn't do it. Needless to say, it did end up getting uploaded, and they did amazingly. They beat Braid's numbers, which was a big thing, and it was real funny, and it was actually really neat. It's a documentary, and I, for one, like documentaries, which is half the reason I love Netflix so much, because there's so many good ones on there. Bad ones, too, but bad documentaries are good in a good way. Like, especially the indie documentaries about, like, vegetarianism and saving waste and different things. Like, there's a lot of good ones, and there's a lot of those, it's so bad they're good ones. So, if you got Netflix, definitely watch some documentaries. You'll learn some stuff. Like, wow. But, oh yeah, that's right, I accidentally skipped that one. But yeah, if you got Netflix, or I think it's only, let me look on Steam right now. I want to say it's not too expensive to get Indie Game the Movie right off of Steam. You can buy just like a game. It's $9.99 on Steam. And I think it's definitely worth every bit of it. It's just, it was so good. It was definitely, it was an hour and a half well spent. I enjoyed every minute of it, and it was really cool to see, especially if you like playing indie games like myself. But yeah, definitely check out Indie Game the Movie, and I don't know if that was as much of a review as like a synopsis. I kind of went through and gave you guys a summary of the whole film in about 18 minutes, so that's not too bad. But I do really think it's one of the reasons I do like it is because of how they picked the people. They picked 3 people all doing essentially the same thing. These are all indie developers. They're all just regular people working to make a video game, and they just do it. And though each group is definitely different, so it shows that it's not just this cookie cutter kind of thing that indie, which is what it seems to be becoming. Indie, like, it's more of a tag right now. Like, it's a big deal if it's an indie game, which I mind and I don't mind at the same time. Indie games are generally cheaper, and more times than not, they're kind of innovative. I mean, like Meat Boy here, this game is nuts. It's hilarious. It's fun. It's so hard, and it's hard in a good way too. It's not like that artificial hardness, if you know what I'm talking about. Like when you're playing a game and the boss has a cajillion health and your weapon only does 45 damage at a time. That's artificial difficulty. They just make it seem harder when really they're just making it stupid. But this is, you sit there, like, this is a good example, because as I go up, I learn, when to switch sides. There, just, like, this is a really cool replay, because you see them going up, and they're just thinning out as they go up to the top. Like, 6 Meat Boys enter, only 1 makes it to the top. There was my movie trailer voice for Super Meat Boy. And I think this is the last level I recorded. Yeah, it is. So, yeah, definitely check out Indie Game the Movie. Like I said, either via Netflix or Steam, or I don't know if it's an indie documentary, so it probably not. I don't think it'd be on Redbox or anything like that. But if you get the opportunity to watch it, I definitely check it out. just because it is good. It was if it ever comes to DVD, I might actually consider buying it. I don't know if I'd pay $10 for a digital copy of something I can watch for free on Netflix, which I know that sounds kind of cheap of me, just giving it all this praise and saying, I don't want to spend my money on it. But definitely check it out. Now with the last minute or two, I want to say videos should start coming more regularly. I have to work this weekend, and then starting next week is like a month of an obnoxiously large window of free time. I finished all my exams with school and stuff, and now I'm pretty much done until next semester. So that's probably going to be a lot of video games. Really, I mean, you really can't get a part-time job for a month. So hopefully some stuff will be boss, and then once I get kind of back into the schedule, it should be more natural, and then hopefully videos will continue as usual. I got some new stuff in the pipeline. I was talking about that mod series in my last Delve of Dinevara episode or whatever, and I got one suggestion, so I'm going with that, which is going to be nuts. The adventure map, Delves of Dinevara, will continue once I get around to finishing the building I'm doing. I may have broken some rules, but I need to just make sure the ends justify the means. So once that's done, that'll be good to go. Torchlight will be continuing, and then